Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila. I love all things beauty, I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the fam. Okay, so I am so excited for this video, like so excited. So my girl Kara actually came up with the idea to do a Renaissance tag in honor of Beyonce's Renaissance tour. And I watched her video, she tagged me in it, and I was like, this is so cool, you know? So I knew I had to do the tag. So today I'm sitting down to tell you guys basically what eyeshadow I would associate with every single track on her new album, Renaissance. And whew, it was a journey. It was a little bit difficult. Actually, was up last night matching songs to the palettes that I had in my collection. It was a lot of fun to go through that because, you know, I did not get to see Beyonce on tour. I could not afford Beyonce tickets. That was just not in my Rolodex this year. So it was not a part of my journey in 2023. But I think this is a cool way to just kind of enjoy the music, really feel the vibe and whatnot. I know Kara did get to see Beyonce on tour, and I know she had the best time. Now, I will go ahead and link Kara's video down below. I will also tag a couple of other creators that I think would actually really enjoy doing this tag. It's gonna be fun. I hope you guys enjoy hearing my thoughts and kind of like how I associate each palette with a specific song and why. So if you want to see that tag, if you want to see the rest of this video, go ahead and keep on watching. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so the first song on the album is I'm That Girl. And I feel like I struggled with this one a little bit because it's, when I think about the song and when I was listening to the lyrics, it like talks about the idea of like, you know, it's not the diamonds, it's not the pearls, I'm just that girl. Which, you know, we all should feel like that for sure. Because clothes and jewels and, you know, luxury and all of this stuff doesn't make you, you know? You can have the most expensive anything on and can still be not that girl because it's a presence. It's a way that you carry yourself. It's an attitude, if you know what I mean. So that's what I got from that song. So I decided to go with the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. And I feel like I wasn't sure it was going to be this one. And then I stumbled upon it as I was looking through my collection. Because sometimes I be forgetting what I have. And I was like, you know what? This palette really is that girl. I remember when Natasha Denona came up with it, I was like, she's kind of pinky. It's really basic, like the colors aren't that exciting, but let me tell you, this palette is that girl. When you put it on your eyes, it's just beautiful. It's effortless. And here's the thing about this palette too, is that for the first time in a while, Natasha gave us shadows that were like, in my opinion, more appropriate for deeper complexions. Like all of these shades here had the depth, had the pigment, had the richness for my melanated ladies and gentlemen. So I was really excited that I had a palette that would work for me. Every single shade in here would work for me. And even though it seemed like a kind of like sort of everyday color story, there was just like a little bit of extra to it. So you have the multi-chrome here, a duochrome here. So you can stick in these sort of like neutral vein, or you can amp it up with either of these sort of multi-dimensional shades in there. And it just felt like this is a palette that was effortless. Like it didn't need any sort of special anything to make it perfection. Like sometimes you have to throw in a bunch of multi-chromes and everything has to be super shifty for it to be like, you know, va va voom. But this one just was just effortlessly like, I'm here and I am exceptional. And that is why I thought it was perfect for I'm That Girl, because it really felt like this emulated the attitude of like, yes, I'm a basic color story, but I'm a basic B with the drama. And that's why I put that one there. I thought it was just perfect for that. Okay, the second song on the album is called Cozy. And when I think about cozy, you know, the lyrics are very literal. It's just like this idea of I'm comfortable in my skin, I'm cozy with who I am. You know, I am who I am. I don't need to add too much. You know, I don't feel like I have to cover myself up. I don't feel like I have to shrink myself down. I'm just comfortable. And, you know, take it or leave it. That's your problem. I can get up every day and not feel self-conscious and not constantly judge myself. So for Cozy, I decided to go with the Byredo Remembrance palette. So this is this the right one? I think it's the right one. I might have mixed up the name. No, this is the right one. Yes, so it's Byredo Remembrance palette. And I decided to go with this one because this is even more basic than the previous one. The thing about the Byredo Remembrance palette is the fact that these shades don't add too much to the lids. When I was playing around with this palette, I felt like it added a little bit of extra, like just little hint of shimmer, like a little sprinkle of shimmer onto the lids without overwhelming the face. And I think that that is the thing that I noticed with like Byredo and a lot of luxury brands, is that they don't try to do too much. Like they will add a little bit of something, but for the most part, it's your skin shining through. It's just you shining through. And I know we all love our indie shadows. I know we love our multi-chromes. I know we like the extraness and the all of that. But sometimes you don't gotta be extra. And this is a palette that I reach for when I'm like, I'm not trying to do too much. You know, I want to be, I don't want no makeup, but I don't want to have all the makeup on. I just want something that's gonna like add a little bit without overwhelming me or taking over the entire face. And that's what I thought of with the Byredo Remembrance palette. Like it does have it doesn't even go too deep to give you like a smoky look. It literally goes deep enough to give you dimension, at least for my complexion, but it just really enhances everything that's there without being overwhelming. So it allows me to be comfortable and cozy and just be in my skin without doing too much. Okay, the third song on the album is my favorite song on the album. And honestly, going into this tag, this was the only thing that I was sure about. This was the first palette that I picked. This was the first song that I was like, this is the only one I'm 1000% confident in. And that is Alien Superstar. That song is just perfection. Like, it literally starts with, I'm one of one. I'm the only one. And I had to give it to none other than, you already know, Miss Pat McGrath, Patricia Subversive. Because this is one of one. I think a lot of us, you know, we try to reminisce on the old Pat, if you want to call it that. But here's the, let me break it down for you all. Patricia has always been basic. She has always given us neutral eyeshadows and pinky neutral eyeshadows. This is the only one, aside from the number 5, which was the all shimmer colorful one. Those are the only 2 palettes Patricia's ever given us that had a little something extra. But even if you look at number 1, number 2, they're all neutral with one pop of color. But when she came to number 3, Patricia said, Alien Superstar. Y'all. This is it gives me alien vibes. Aside from like the colors being very kind of like out there, very different from what we know Pat to be now. Like, gigabytes? Gigabyte, come on. Like, there's no comparison. Even this purple shade that I don't know the name of, this purpley blue shade. Alien Superstar. And sorry, I have my ring light on because it is like a little bit cloudy out today, so you might not be able to see the multi-dimensional goodness, but I knew confidently going into this that this was the only palette that I was 100% sure about, because this is the most unique palette Pat McGrath has ever put out. Whenever I tell people that, you know, if you're looking to pick up a mothership and you want the most unique one, I always recommend Subversive. Like, if you want something that's going to be everyday friendly, go with Midnight Sun. But if you want to truly experience what we say when we say try a Pat McGrath shadow, Alien Superstar. I love this one, y'all. Forever I'm that girl. No competition, no comparison. Okay, so next up we have Cuff It. And this one was a little bit hard for me because I felt like I was leaning more towards the music of the song than the words. You know, because like the song itself, you know, it talks about like, I feel like falling in love. But it has this sort of disco kind of dancey vibe to it. And I was like, I was feeling the music more than I cared for the words. Let me put it like that. So for this one, I decided to go with the Kaleidos Escape Pod palette. Now, taking whatever the hell Kaleidos is doing now aside, we're gonna ignore that. This was the Kaleidos that we all fell in love with, you know? And I have to take off this light because y'all need to see all of this for its goodness. So this was the Kaleidos that I think we all fell in love with. The bright, colorful, very kind of indie Kaleidos. And when I think about Cuff It, like I said, it has that dancey vibe. It gives me very disco vibes. It gives me like roller rink kind of vibes where everybody is in like these neon colorful colors, just sort of like vibing, having a time. And this is what I like thought of in my mind, and I was like, Kaleidos Escape Pod. Everything from the packaging, which feels very like disco and fun, to the shades inside just gave me that vibe. So, you know, I thought about dancing, I thought about having a good time, I thought about color and just vibrancy and all of that, and that's why I decided that Cuff It had to be Kaleidos Escape Pod. Okay, and then I think it goes into my well, I know what song it goes into, but I think this is my second favorite song on the album. So Cuff It then goes into Energy. And Energy has that like bass to it that's like, okay. And I'm like hearing it in my head because I can't play it, but like, it just, again, another high energy, very, very dancey song. And for that one, I decided to go with my tried and true House of L palette from Adept Cosmetics, because y'all see, it's very fiery, very, very rich. And honestly, I went for it just for this shade Zorel. Like, this is my all-time favorite shimmer from Adept. I need them to bring this out as a single. I don't think I've been able to find anything like this that I've fallen in love with to this extent. But this is this is a palette that has been so many places with me. And it's a palette that I reach for when I'm thinking about going to like a live event. So I wore this to a Kes concert. I wore this to my cousin's bachelorette party. So when I know I'm gonna have a time, when I know it's gonna be a vibe, and we gonna be whining and brocking it down and all of that fun jazz, it's Adept House of L. Because something about the fiery shades of it just kind of like brings this like fire to the face, if that makes sense. Now, I've always loved the color red. It's one of my absolute favorite colors. Probably one, because it is the color of my national flag. So, you know, the Trinidad national flag is like red. Red, white, and black. And, you know, the red stands for like the fire of the people and the energy and all of that. So I've always had a very deep love for red. And I just think that it just represents so much energy, you know, like fire, everything. So and this one is red with a shift to it. So it has a little bit of green and gold and all that in there. So it's like, with fire, if you ever look at like a flame, it's constantly flickering. You constantly see different things within the light. The flame looks a little bit different depending on how hot it is. I know I'm getting hella technical here. let me live. But it's so much energy with this. Now, I don't like the mattes in this palette. I've said this multiple times, but we're not going to get into that. But if we were to take the mattes into account too, you also have sort of the orange shades, and then you do have other multi-chromes in here that are absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning, and do bring that energy as well. Even this one is really, really pretty. It's on the lighter end, so it kind of combats this red with a little bit of a more orange tone to it. So it's just stunning, beautiful, and this is all I could think of when I thought like just energy, vibe, fun. That was it. And it definitely reminds me of, it makes me think of like what I would bring to Trinidad to play mass. Like if I was playing mass, I think regardless of what costume I'm wearing, I would put Zorel on my eyes, because that just gives me the feeling of vibes and pace and energy, which is literally what being on the road is. If you don't have energy, don't come play mass with me. Don't go play mass at all, because you got to be able to keep up, walk for 25 miles, and still be able to go the next day. Just saying. Whew, getting a little hot. This is so much fun. Thank you, Kara, for making me do this, because this is so much fun. Okay, and then energy goes into the song that she actually launched the album with, which is You Won't Break My Soul, You Won't Break My Soul, and I'm telling everybody. So for this one, I decided to go ahead and choose the Hummingbird palette from Oden's Eye, and this was a collab with Tina, aka the Fancy Face, and Oden's Eye. So the Hummingbird palette, this actually was Oden's Eye's first foray into influencer collabs, I believe. So they did a trio of influencers and they released 3 palettes, and this was Tina's version of her collab with the brand. Now this is absolutely beautiful. It's colorful, it's bright, it's vibrant, and I feel like I struggled with this one a little bit, because with the song itself, because it really hit me deep when I really started thinking about it. It got real deep. So when I think about my soul. And if you watch one of my previous videos, I talked about the fact that, you know, I'm working on filling my cup. I'm working on figuring out what makes me happy, what brings me joy, and what that looks like, and how do I continue to find ways to fill my cup, because I live in a country that is constantly asking a lot of us and can be very, very draining mentally, spiritually, physically, everything. So, you know, when I think about what fills my cup, when I feel the most full, what fills my soul, I can't help but think about Trinidad. Like, there's just a different pace and a different level of peace that comes with being in the Caribbean, with growing up in the Caribbean. The Caribbean has its own faults. Like, I'm not about to sit here and say it is the most perfect place to live, because that ain't the truth by any stretch of the imagination. But when it comes to, like, the level of, like, balance, like, in terms of just living life and enjoying life, it has that down pat. And moving to the US, I felt like a little piece of myself kept breaking, because I didn't have the balance of what it meant to be living in the Caribbean, having that sense of freedom and happiness and just the ability to enjoy life because of the hustle culture. So I was inspired to make this palette, one, because Tina is also Caribbean. She's Jamaican. I'm Trinidadian. So it felt like it was a little bit of kinship there. But then also, too, looking at the colors that Tina chose, which is not surprising by any means. One, she's someone who loves colorful eyeshadows, so it's not surprising that she chose a super colorful palette. And then two, she's Caribbean, and I think we like to live our life as colorful as possible. I think that this represents what it is to be an island girl. And even when you look at the names that she chose, it's very reminiscent of what it is to live on an island. Like, it was inspired by islands, you know? And Trinidad was actually called the land of the hummingbird, so fun fact there. So it made me think about being back home. It made me think about the fact that being home, being in Trinidad, being in the Caribbean is what feeds my soul the most, because it reminds me of who I am, like who I truly am. My truest, most authentic self is who Jamila is when Jamila is at home in Trinidad and Tobago. So that is why I ended up choosing Break My Soul, because it reminds me so much of that. It also, like, the colors remind me a little bit of, like, Carnival, because, again, being on the road is a different experience. It's a different level of freedom. It's a different level of joy. It's a different level of just, like, escapism, or whatever you want to call it. And that is also what feeds my soul. Being in a costume on a Monday and a Tuesday. Okay, let me bring it back in. But yeah, so it took me a while to get to that, but when I finally picked it, I was like, yeah, that's the one. That is the one, because that's what, you know, reminds me to feed my soul. Okay, so next up, Break My Soul then rolls right into Church Girl. This one, you know, I wasn't too sure, because I am a church girl. Not in that sort of nasty sense of the song, but, like, you know, I am very, very religious. I have a strong sense of faith, like, you know. So I'm always, like, very deep into, like, okay, Jesus, I got you. I'm listening. I believe, you know, I'm very strong in my faith. I wear a crucifix, like, 24/7. So, you know, listening to the words of the song, it's like this weird thing where she's like, you know, I'm a church girl, but I also know how to tune up, which kind of feels very reminiscent of what it is to be a Trini in a lot of ways. Like, we can be on the road, Carnival Monday and Tuesday, and then we're up in church Ash Wednesday, getting our ashes like nobody business. So, like, you know, and I think that sometimes there's this, like, weird perception that if you are someone that is deep into their faith and religious, that you have to be this demure, quiet, fully covered, fully clothed person. But it's like, no, you know, we're multifaceted. You can still love Jesus and still know how to whine. Like, that's okay. That's completely fine. Don't fight me in the comments, please. Please don't. But basically, yeah. So I decided to go with the NARS Climax palette. For a couple of reasons. I think NARS just has the nastiest names for no reason. Like, why? Like, not everything has to be an orgasm and a climax. So, like, let's like, relax, NARS. But thinking about that sort of duality of being super religious and demure, and then, you know, having the, like, I still know how to bust it wide and open, you know, whatever. I decided to go with the NARS Climax because I feel like that's what, one, the brand itself as a brand represents, but also, two, what this palette represents. Because when you look at the palette, it's, like, very nondescript. The name says Climax. And then when you look at the shades, it's, like, pretty standard. But this is a palette that I have absolutely obsessed over. This has gone so many places with me, both domestically and internationally, because it's one of those palettes that I found that I was able to use for sort of an everyday just nice look, you know, like I could wear this in a professional setting, but also I could wear this out. And I, you know, like I wore this to a wedding one time. Like I've just worn it in so many different settings that it gave me the vibe of that sort of church girl feel where you can be able to switch back and forth between, you know, different situations, because different situations call for different things. And I feel like this is multifaceted enough that it can work in multiple situations. So that's why I ended up going with the NARS Climax palette for that one. Okay, so the next song off of the album is Plastic Off the Sofa. You know what, I had to really listen to this song because I was like, what song is this? And even though I love Beyonce, even though I think the Renaissance album is really nice, it's not my favorite album from her, and there are definitely songs on it that I'm like, skip, unnecessary, I don't love it. And I think Plastic Off the Sofa is one of those. Now, it definitely, when you listen to it, I feel like it talks about this sort of trajectory in a relationship, of like falling in love and moving from one level to the next in terms of what love is and what love represents. So I decided to go with the Love's Journey palette from Sydney Grace because I think it's the most literal, the most literal palette that talks about it. You know, like love is a journey. It doesn't just happen. It takes time. It grows. It changes as people grow and change. So you have to learn to love them differently. So I feel like even though the color story here has nothing to do with the song, in my opinion, the fact that this is called Love's Journey and it's sort of a, it makes me think of sort of the idea that love has to grow and shift and evolve as people grow and shift and evolve. So I'm gonna give Plastic Off the Sofa to Sydney Grace Love's Journey. Okay, the next song is Virgos Groove. This is also one that gave me pretty disco vibes, so it reminded me of like the Kaleidos palette that I was thinking about, but there was a big difference to this one, where I feel like the cuff it was like, okay, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to have a time, I want to look my best, I want to be, you know, out there. I feel like Virgos Groove is, well, one, it's like this idea of like, baby, come over now. Like, I need you here like 5 minutes ago. And because it was like this, it felt like a little rushed, like I need you and I need you now. I decided that I needed to go for a palette that was going to be quick and easy to put on because you don't have enough time, because you want it and you want it now. So I decided to go with the Venus and Fleurs quad from Pat McGrath. Now, what I like about this quad is, one, it's a quad, so it's 4 shades, so it's very quick and easy, which, you know, I feel like that song is like, we don't got the time. I don't got the time to do all that. I just need you and I need you now. So it was like, I needed it to be quick. I needed it to be easy, but I also needed it to be bam. And what I like about the Venus and Fleurs quad is that, one, you have the one matte shade, which is all you need because, you know, Patricia, you can blend out and do what you need to do. And then this shimmer is so multi-dimensional. Like, it almost has an indie shimmer vibe to it in that it's kind of fiery, like, but it also is multi, like, it's kind of shifty. That's what I'm trying to say. So it has like a pinky gold shift to it and tons of sparkle. And what why I chose this is that, one, again, because it's that very quick and easy palette, like you could literally throw this on the lid, rough it up with that brown shade, that brown matte, and that's it. Look right there, done. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So it felt like for the vibe that the song was going for, which is like, you know, come hither now immediately. You have like 5 minutes to throw some eyeshadow on your face and you're good to go. So yeah, that's where it went there. I don't know. That's how I was feeling when I was listening to this song. I also picked these at like midnight last night, guys. So if it I don't know if that influenced my choices, but I'm sticking to it. I still feel pretty confident about what I chose. Okay, so the next song on the album is Move. And this one is a pretty powerful song. It's, in my opinion, it reads kind of like all about power. It's like, move out the way. I'm here. I'm in charge. You know who's the one that has the power and the authority in this system. So I decided to go with the Nomad Cosmetics Royal Europe palette because I feel like these are pretty powerful shadows. Now, first and foremost, everything here is rich, and I mean like richly pigmented. They did not give us any pastels. They did not give us any light shades. They said, move from here with all of that. We're going to give you punch and pigment straight off the jump. Take it or leave it. And obviously the theme is Royal Europe, so it's very much based on the sense of like power and the crown jewels and all of that. So you have these multi-dimensional shades here. Like, these are all multi-chromes. So you can pick any of the mattes here and pair it with one of the multi-chromes, and you're going to get a very, very powerful look. And I feel like since the entire vibe of Move feels like it's a power trip, where it's like, I'm large, I'm in charge, you know who's here, I was like, yeah, okay, that has to go to Royal Europe, because I feel like that entire palette is all about power and impact. Like, there's no room for subtlety in that. There's no room to tone things down. Everything is going to be bam, in your face. So that's why I chose that one. Next up, we have Heated. This one I struggled with a little bit. I wasn't sure about it, and I'm still not 100% sure on it. But for that one, I decided to go with my Chanel Le Fort Ombre. What is this called? I think this is the Mediterranean eyeshadow. Yeah, so it's pretty basic. And I'm still like struggling with this one, but I like this eyeshadow. So I feel like, you know, when I was listening to the lyrics of the song, like, she talks a little bit about like her Chanel, you know, got a lot of bands, got a lot of Chanel on me, I gotta fend myself off. So like, it's the idea of like, in my opinion, from listening to, you know, she's like, I got all the jewels, got all the coinage, got all the luxury on me. You know, I'm like heated. So it felt like it was all about the luxury lifestyle that she lives. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go with my Chanel quad, because at the end of the day, Chanel is like peak luxury when you think about it in the luxury space, especially in that sort of like elevated, classy luxury, if you want to call it that. Like, it's, I feel like your Chanel is like right up there. And to be quite frank, that quad is bomb.com. Like, I know Chanel gives us ash consistently with its whole chest a lot of times, but in terms of that quad is bomb. It has like the very sort of sophisticated, elegant sort of glimmer to it when you put it on the eyelids. It shows up on me. It's not overwhelming. I think it's really, really beautiful. So it just felt like this song was all about like, let me show off the luxury that I have. So I was like, let me pull out my Chanel quad, which just happens to be like actually pretty amazing. Okay, so the next song on the album is Thick. And I don't know why, but Danessa Myricks gives me thick vibes. Like, she just, and maybe it's because all of her stuff is marketed as yummy and juicy, and like, I don't know if that's what made me think of like thick, which, listen, I'm drawing a real feeble, like, thin, see-through sheer line there. So I'm making some weird inferences, but I don't know, something about Danessa Myricks just makes me think about thickness. So I just feel like she is a vibe. She is like an artist. She just brings a certain level to like everything that she puts out there. She's very innovative. She's one of the people that is still innovative in this field. Like, it's very hard, in my opinion, to continue to innovate in the makeup industry right now, because everything's kind of been done. But I feel like Danessa's out there doing it, and doing it well. So, you know, and she does all of these sort of like juicy liquid type products that, you know what, they are thick. Like her little liquid metal eyeshadow color fixes, those things are thick. So I decided to go ahead and go with Lightwork Volume 3, because this baby was it. She was amazing. And I don't know, something about the versatility of this palette made me think about picking this one, because you have everything in here. So you have multi-chromes, you have a black matte to sort of blend everything out with, or to use as a base, which is perfect for making these pop even more. You have iridescent duochromes on top here, which again adds a little extra something to it. You have two cream multi-chromes, which, listen, they don't crease, they have no problem with it. And then you have a glitter shade as well. So the versatility of this palette was just everything. Like, we bow down to Queen Danessa. She is amazing, and let's give her her flowers, because she deserves all of it. Okay, 4 more songs. So the next song is All Up in Your Mind. This was another one that I don't think I fell in love with off the album. So I was listening to words and I was like, what is this even about? And I feel like it was this idea of, you know what, I love you even if nobody else does. or if even if other people don't like you. So, and maybe I interpreted that hella wrong, but we just gonna go with it. So I decided to go with the Love Hate palette from Nomad Cosmetics because I felt like in some ways I heard the duality in that song of, you know, like, I love you, but you have these other things that are not necessarily the best qualities. So it was a bit of like, I love you, but I hate this about you, or I love you and other people hate this about you. I might be completely wrong there. So I decided to go with the dual sort of concept of love and hate from the Nomad Cosmetics palette. So, you know, we have the love and the hate side. And that was it. Like, that was like literally the extent of my thought process on that. So we're just going to leave that one there and move right along. Next up, we have America Has a Problem. Okay, so this one, I'm not confident in my choice because I feel like I was just like, okay. Again, I feel like coming down to the end of her album, I was just like, I don't know if I like these. But that's a me thing. The America Has a Problem song, I don't think I got it. I didn't. I'm gonna be dead ass. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But I know Kara chose the Freedom palette from Oma Beauty. So if we were to take the song, like the title very literal, America Has a Problem, I think that that's an amazing, amazing choice. I decided to go with the Maryjane palette from Melt Cosmetics. My thought process into this was very, very shallow. I just felt like the song felt deep and grungy, and that was it. So I feel like this is such a grungy, smoky color story that I was like, oh, okay, this sounds about right. I feel like this suits the vibe of the songs that were being played. That's literally the extent of my thought process. I also tried to make some connection to the fact that it's called Maryjane. America's like thoughts on weed is strange. Like, I don't know. Take it for however you will, but that's where I ended up with that one. Okay, so the next one is Pure Honey. This, I know I said coming down to the end of the albums, I didn't like the song, but this is actually a nice song. And this one, I had to give it to the Blend Bunny Blends palette. Because the entire song talks about, like, check my technique. You know, like, my technique is perfection. I am perfection. This is the bar at which everything wants to live up to, right? So my technique is perfect. You want to live up to my technique, blah, blah, blah. That's what I got from the song. So I decided to go with the Blend Bunny Blends palette because there are no better mattes on the market. I said it. I'm saying it with my whole chest. Fight me in the comments, but that's just how I feel. I feel like the Blend Bunny mattes are the best mattes that I've ever experienced. And I love me some Pat McGrath. I love me some Natasha Denona. Like, there are tons of other really, really, really exceptional matte formulas on the market. But nobody touches blends. Nobody touches the Blend Bunny matte formula. Check her technique. Check her performance. Check her quality. Check her blending ability. Anyways, I am way too hyped for this tag, but I'm having the best time, so we're just gonna leave that there. But that's what I thought about when I was listening to that song. It was just like, you know, I set the bar, and like, this is the standard that all others should be trying to live up to. Anyways, last but not least, there is Summer Renaissance. This is the final song on the album. Okay, so I was a little bit unsure about this one, but it did again give me pretty dancey vibes. So I decided to go with the Adept Cosmetics Inspired palette. I truly think that this is a really beautiful palette that Adept put out. I was really inspired by this, and given that the song is sort of the namesake for the album, I feel like, you know, this is a palette that makes me want to think differently, apply shadow differently, try new things. So I was actually pretty inspired by this palette because I think you get, you know, there's a ton of the greens in there, but you do have like some pinky, blue, some, you know, other type shades to build off of this and come up with a pretty inspired look. It's also, that song is also pretty dancey, pretty disco-y in my opinion. And I just feel like that green and sort of the reflectiveness of how all of those colors change and shift and whatnot made me think, you know, this could definitely be like a good vibey song and palette mix. You know, like I would wear this to a club and the lights would hit it and my eyes would be like twinkling and whatnot. So that's what I thought. Okay, That was hard, but also so much fun. There was some that I was like 100% sure about, like super confident going into it. And then there was some I had to think about, and some that, you know, had really deep kind of connections, and some that were hella surface. So this was really a lot of fun because of sort of the multi-dimensional process that my brain went through, kind of trying to connect all of these things together. All right, now it's your turn. I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to try to do this as a live premiere so that as I'm going through these, you can put in the comments, in the chat, what you feel about each and every one of these releases so that I can hear your thoughts and whether or not you agree with me or what palette you have from your collection you would pick for each song. If you want to do this for yourself as well, please go ahead and do it. If you do and you do create a video on it, be sure to tag myself, be sure to tag Kara, because I want to come back and watch all of these because I think these are just so fun to create and so much fun to listen to. Anyways, as always, thank you guys so very much for watching me. Like I said, don't forget to leave a comment down below letting me your thoughts, letting me know your thoughts. If you haven't already done so, like the video. All engagement helps. And don't forget to subscribe on your way out. Join the fam. It's a vibe here. And as always, I appreciate you guys so much more than you know. Thank you for watching. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And as always, I'll catch you in my next one. Bye!